So, hello everyone. So, today we are here to discuss about General Studies Paper 3. We are going to discuss about environment ecology and internal security. So, before discussing this paper, I would just like to highlight certain points about the nature of the paper. 2022 GS Paper 3. If you try to see GS Paper 3, again this year the paper was towards more easy level. Rather than moderate, I would say easy, because more or less if you have prepared very thoroughly the syllabus and the previous year questions, then the questions were completely repeated on the same themes. Let that be internal security, environment, agriculture, Indian economy, etc. So considering these aspects, if you try to understand how the questions were asked and what are the demand of the question, so in that context we are going to see today the questions related to the ecology and आपका internal security. So here we also have the model answers for this topic for all the answers, but here in this session I would generally, rather than showing you all these model answers etc., which will be provided to you on the Telegram group, here I will try to tell you what is the exact key demands of all the questions, how you need to write the introduction, body, conclusion, because the challenge is to write in limited amount of words, that is 150 words or 250 words, that also in limited time. So how to manage that in the exam environment, here I will be emphasizing upon that also, right? By taking note of all these points, let me start with the first question. So here what we will do, we will do first all the ecology based questions, and then we will do the internal security based questions. The first question, if you try to understand, is question number 7, that is discuss in detail the photochemical smog with emphasizing its formation, effects, mitigation, and explain the 1999 Gothenburg Protocol. So question is for 10 marks, 150 words. Question is pretty straightforward. Question has 3 things. 1, what is photochemical smog? You have to write the definition, how it is formed, uske baad its effect, how we are going to mitigate it, and then Gothenburg Protocol. So total, if you try to understand, there are 4 parts of the question. So here how we are going to manage this, so let us try. So here I will be writing myself all the complete answer. I want you to keep pen and paper with you so that you can also simultaneously write the answers, right? So here the question was, explain. I will just read the question again. Question says, discuss in detail the photochemical smog and emphasize its formation, effects and mitigation. So this is question number 7. That is photochemical smog. So actually, what is a smog? Anyone? Smog is nothing but fog and a smoke. The combination of a smoke and a fog is called as a smog. So in simplest word, it is nothing but the clouds formed near the Earth's surface, right? So here, photochemical smog is also a particular type of the clouds which are found near the Earth's surface because of certain chemical reactions. So it is generally found in the urban areas. It is also called as Los Angeles smog or summer smog. Actually, there are two types of smogs. One is basically Los Angeles type of smog, and second is your London smog. London smog is also called as sulfur smog, while photochemical smog is called as your Los Angeles smog. So here we have to write initially what is photochemical smog. So photochemical smog, before writing the definition of this photochemical smog, you should also understand something called as pollutants. There are two types of pollutants. One is called as primary pollutant and second is secondary pollutant. So primary pollutant matlab the pollutants which are released into the atmosphere and will remain in the atmosphere as and what the form in which they were added. For example, plastic. Secondary pollutant matlab due to certain chemical reaction within the gases or the molecules, a new type of a pollutant will be formed. That is a secondary pollutant. So here photochemical smog is also found because of the complex chemical reactions. So here what we can write in the introduction is that photochemical smog is a mixture of pollutants, both primary and secondary near the earth surface, in the presence of the sunlight, which results into formation of the brown haze. So basically, just as I mentioned earlier also, it is a set of a complex chemical reaction where the pollutants, both that is primary and secondary pollutants, would be involved, and these pollutants would be reacting near the earth surface in the presence of the sunlight, and which will lead to the formation of something called as brown haze. This photochemical smog, after writing this brief introduction, the first point, you can just try to tell that here what we are doing, we are trying to understand how to write exact answer in the examination. Synopsis तो मैंने दिखाया आपको, आपके पास है, but still in examination how you are going to manage in 150 words. So here it is also called Los Angeles smog, and is generally formed in urban areas. It is generally found in the urban areas. Why? Because of complex chemical reaction. And what are the sources of these pollutants? So after writing this brief introduction, that it is also called as Los Angeles forms and it forms the brown haze over the urban surface, mainly, third point you can immediately write after writing this definition, because question is asking you the formation, right, its effects and mitigation. These are the three parts, and last में Gothenburg Protocol of 1999. So here after this first point, what you can tell, the pollutants are released due to fossil fuel burning through vehicular emissions, industries, etc., and I would say crop mass burning. So through this we are getting these pollutants, and these pollutants are going to do certain chemical reaction. That is what the UPSC is asking. Tell us the formation of the photochemical smog. So now after writing these 2 points initially, you can tell the formation is due to the complex chemical reaction between the following pollutants as follows. First, the volatile organic compounds which are released from the paints, aerosol, sprays, etc., and nitrous oxides and ground level ozone in the presence of the sunlight, leads to the formation of photochemical smog. This is what is the exact formation of the photochemical smog. That means, in simplest way, it is nothing but a cloud or a brown haze which is found near the Earth's surface because of this complex chemical reactions taking place near the Earth's surface. And who are releasing this? The pollutants, volatile organic compounds, the paints, sprays, nitrous oxides, basically fossil fuel burning, right? Thermal power plants, industries, etc. Ground level ozone, and in the presence of the sunlight, especially the ultraviolet rays. Is it clear? So immediately the fourth point would be this. You can tell that along with this, you can tell that in the formation, these pollutants also react. These pollutants also react within themselves. For example, nitrous oxides, volatile organic compounds forming peroxyl acetyl nitrate. Are you understanding this? So these are the pollutants, nothing but the pollutants, and this is how the formation is there. Now the second part of this is the fourth point of your answer. First point of the answer, you will write the brief definition. What is it called? Why is it? It is present generally in the urban areas. In urban areas, kahan pe? Where you have generally the atmospheric stability. Wherever you have generally the atmospheric stability, wahan pe you will find photochemical smog. It is also called a summer smog, right? After that you will tell why? Because the pollutants are released mainly from fossil fuel burning, industrialization, urbanization, and crop mass burning. So the reaction will take place of the pollutants in this following way. After this, you have to tell what are the effects. This is what is the question, right? Question ka dekho. Question is asking you the formation, effects, mitigation. So now, ye kya hai pura? These are all chemicals. Now definitely the chemicals are going to impact the health of the human beings. So this photochemical smog is definitely going to adversely impact the health of the humans. Correct? Now whenever you have smog, understand, whenever you have a smog, क्या होता है आपका? Visibility is reduced. Visibility is reduced. Right? It is also going to affect the other aspects of the ecology. जैसे I will explain all these points. Imagine in New Delhi, each year you declare certain thing called as environmental emergency during winters, right? अभी आ जाएगा दीपावली के बाद, right? So why is it? Because this photochemical smog adversely impacts the health of the children and all the old age people, मतलब generally young people also, but it affects more. क्या affect करता है इसमें? The respiratory diseases would be there, bronchial diseases would be there, right? Then eye irritation. Example, due to this peroxyl acetyl nitrate, eye irritation would be there if you are present in the area where photochemical smog is formed. Respiratory diseases, heart and lung diseases would be more. That means it is adversely impacting the human physiology, right? So after this health ka impact, if you try to understand the visibility, due to decline in visibility, it is nothing but a cloud. This cloud is going to reduce the incoming solar radiation towards the earth. Due to this, there is going to be reduction in the vitamin D production. Due to this, there can be another diseases like rickets. Also, this visibility is going to hamper the travel. Sometimes due to dense fogs, the traveling air communication or something is basically hampered. Similarly, on the other parts of the ecology, I mean the plants. If you understand the plants, especially the photosynthesis reaction, in this photosynthesis reaction, photochemical smog adversely impacts the rate of photosynthesis. Getting the point? Because photosynthesis kya hai? Carbon dioxide in the presence of the water and sunlight prepares something called as carbohydrates. But this process itself is adversely impacted by the pollutants in the photochemical smog. Are you understanding it? So, ecology के ऊपर plants के ऊपर भी impact होता है. Certain photosynthetic rate, photosynthesis rate, etc. And also sometimes it is found, the researchers have found that on biogeochemical cycles, just nitrogen cycle, etc., is also adversely impacted by this photochemical smog. I can say photochemical smog have adversely impacted each and every component of the environment, right? So these are the few impacts which you can mention in the body part, the second part of the question, right? That is impact. इसमें आप you can tell that कि certain reports also, for example, how many there are almost death of 1 lakh children per year in India due to the air pollution. This is the data of basically WMO. You can also mention that to substantiate these points. Now question is how you are going to mitigate it. This is the next part of the question. That is mitigation. Are you understanding? 150 words में कैसा लिखोगे? Due to that, I am telling you this. पूरा detail तो synopsis में मिल जाएगा आपको. But what are the more important keywords and how you are going to structure the answer? That is very important. Since this question was pretty direct, parts दिए उन्होंने explain the formation, effects, mitigation, and Gothenburg Protocol. Now tell me, why did the formation took place of the photochemical smog? Due to something called as pollutants. Who are the pollutants? Fossil fuel burning, petroleum, coal, right? Petroleum, coal, and other fossil fuels in the vehicles, industries, etc. Right? Particulate matters due to crop mass burning. So solution क्या रहेगा? If you are understanding the problem itself, that means the causative factor, solution भी यही पे आएगा ना. So mitigation would be to reduce the pollution, right? To reduce the pollution. Now to reduce the pollution, what you are going to do? You are going to switch to something called as clean energy. Correct? Clean form of energy. Which is the clean form of energy? CNG, hydrogen CNG, hydrogen energy, biofuels, right? Or I would say you are going to increase the energy efficiency, so that the amount of the pollutants, in the atmosphere are reduced. Getting the point? So if you are understanding the problems, the causative factors, solution bhi aa jayega. In this context, in India also, if you try to understand Delhi smog, which is also a photochemical smog, what have been done? We are directly switched from Bharat stage 4 to Bharat stage 6 fuel norms. To contain this problem of crop mass burning and the particulate matter, government have came up with the comprehensive national clean air program, NCAP. Also, to reduce this, I would say smog, you have something called as anti-smog towers or anti-smog guns. Getting the point? So yes, sab kuch you can write, whatever I told here, I'm just giving you the idea. You can elaborate it. CNG, hydrogen CNG, then the electric fuels, public transportation, you can add it here. Getting the point? But briefly, I'm telling you the structure. And in the end, it asks us about the 1999 Gothenburg Protocol. Right. So in conclusion, you have to write about this Gothenburg Protocol. So Gothenburg Protocol, as I had already discussed in the classes also, which was brought in 99, it had the aim and objective with respect to reducing the सबसे पहला eutrophication, correct? Similarly, it also speaks about basically आपका ground level ozone, correct? Because this ground level ozone is one of the important pollutant which is responsible for the formation of the photochemical smog, right? So if you're containing this, ये नहीं होगा ना. If this is not happening, this won't happen. So to mitigate this at global level, we have some protocol named as Gothenburg Protocol, just like our Kyoto Protocol. Getting the point? So इसमें क्या है Gothenburg Protocol में? Gothenburg Protocol set the limits. It set the limit for or with respect to the emissions, of certain gases or certain pollutants like nitrous oxides, volatile organic compounds, ground level ozone, etc. If you are setting the limit with respect to the total amount of emissions, कौन सा pollutants, which were causative factors, then क्या होगा? This won't be able to form. In this context, again, the global collaboration efforts are needed. Again, whether India is signatory to this, India is not signatory to this Gothenburg Protocol. You also should know this. In this context, again, it was revised in, if I am not wrong, in 2000 or 2012, where particulate matter and black carbon was also included under this protocol. That means we have to reduce the emissions of the black carbon under this protocol. So all these things are going to basically reduce the photochemical smog formation. Are you understanding it? So this is what is the main content of demand, and if you calculate the total amount of the words which I have written on the board, exactly around 150 to 180, 60 ke around hoga. Why I am trying to tell you this? Last year, few of our students got negative penalty marks. If you want, you can check it on Google also. Penalty marks, UPSC is awarding much of penalty marks. You should not, I would say, do not try to count each word, but thoda sa limit mein rakhna. 150 to 180 is fine, but do not write more than 250 words, etc. So for that, you write in the point wise the way I have told you, right? And in conclusion, you can tell that to reduce this photochemical smog, the anthropogenic factors are mainly responsible. Mainly, this is the most important causative factor. In this context, the solution lies in this. Getting the point? If you are switching on to this renewable energy, तो क्या होगा? This problem itself will be reduced. I hope that you got the point. So exactly you write the answer in this way. Highlight the keywords which I have mentioned in your answer. मतलब why I am trying to tell you this? If you write the, for example, as you are watching right now or as you are seeing, मैंने जो लिखा है, you are able to easily understand it. Exactly, examiner को भी ऐसे आपको दिखाना है कि sir, I have understood it in very simplest words, and this is what I am presenting it to you. Is it clear? This is how the answers are to be written. Getting the point? So, if you want to see the synopsis, you can. I also have this synopsis, but it is too big. See, so photochemical smog, how the reactions are, कौन सा reaction होता है, कहाँ पे होता है. This would be provided to you. Are you understanding? उसके बाद what are the effects of it? Health, material, then mitigation of photochemical smog, Gothenburg Protocol, etc. Is it clear? Are you understanding it? ये मिल जाएगा आपको, but the way I have told you, that is much more effective. Is it clear? This is more important. This is the first ecology का question asked in the GS paper 3. Let us see another question. I hope that you are understanding it. समझ रहा है ना? The students who have written the mains will understand कि मतलब exactly ऐसे ही लिखते हैं. Right. Question number. Now see question number 17, guys. Question number 17. So again, these are the two ecology का questions, right? 15 marks, that is 30 marks plus that 10, 40 marks. Very easy, very straightforward questions. Let us understand the question number 17. First, we will understand to try the demand of the question, and then I will tell you how to write the answer. Discuss global warming and mention the effects on the global climate. Explain the control measures to bring down the level of the greenhouse gases which cause global warming in the light of the protocol, Kyoto Protocol 1997. Let us try to understand question में पूछा क्या है. Question says, सबसे पहले tell what is global warming. Indirectly it says that this global warming is caused by the certain greenhouse gases, right? Then these greenhouse gases and global warming are causing effect on what? Global climate. मतलब third part of the question. And how is this Kyoto Protocol going to reduce this global warming? मतलब कितने पार्ट है क्वेश्चन के? टोटल 4 पार्ट आपको एड्रेस करने. Getting the point? Let us try to understand how to write this answer. So here we will start with the global warming, right? Question number 17. So in question number 17, let us start with writing the key definition of global warming. So what is global warming? Global warming is a phenomena of increase in Earth's temperature, increase in Earth's atmospheric temperature due to, or I would say mainly attributed to increase in concentration of carbon dioxide, right? Exactly ऐसा definition आना चाहिए आपका. Is it clear? Keywords में सब कुछ है इसमें. Global warming is a particular phenomena, right? What is happening in this phenomena? There is increase in the Earth's atmospheric temperature, and there is increase in the Earth's atmospheric temperature, and it is mainly attributed to increase in concentration of CO2. बस ये keywords आने चाहिए, right? Now here you immediately, if imagine this is the page of your answer sheet, immediately यहाँ पे बोल दो short में one data, but here if you understand the concentration of CO2, this is concentration of CO2 measured in parts per million, and this is the timeline. Then with respect to pre-industrial levels, that is after 1800, that is post-industrial revolution, the concentration of the CO2 in the atmosphere was around 280 parts per million, correct? Now it have increased to an average around 410 parts per million, correct? In 2021, it is, to be precise, 413. What does it show? It shows increase in the concentration of the CO2 in the atmosphere, and due to this increase in the concentration of the CO2 in the atmosphere, there is global warming and Earth is heating. This have led, वो बाजू में लिखने के बाद you can write, this have led to climate change crisis. Are you understanding it? After writing this part, because immediately definition, you are substantiating this definition that to tell that yes, definitely there is increase in CO2 concentration, and that have led to increase in the Earth's atmospheric temperature. You can also write as per World Meteorological Organization. It's a special agency of United Nations, right? कौन सा रिपोर्ट देता है ये? कौन सा रिपोर्ट देता है? State of global climate. As per the state of global climate report by WMO in 2020, it states the Earth's temperature have increased by to be precise 1.2 degrees centigrade. I am writing average by around 1 degree centigrade with respect to pre-industrial levels. Correct. I am addressing the demand of the question. Try to understand. This is the only introduction which is directly hitting the bullseye. Right. दिखा रहा है climate change is happening. Global warming का definition है. You are substantiating by a report. You are drawing one particular representation. It makes your answer much more, I would say, crisp and directly addressing the demand. Is it clear? After this, the third point. This is the first point. This is the second point. The third point. The question says, I am reading the question again. The question says, discuss the global warming and mention the effects of the global climate. Right? So this impact we are going to write. This is attributed to CO2 concentration. You can write climate change crisis because आगे जाके क्या बोल रहा है? Greenhouse gases. As per Kyoto Protocol, the greenhouse gases like CO2, methane, nitrous oxides, CFCs, perfluorocarbon, sulfur hexafluoride, etc. are attributed to climate change and global warming. Correct? ये पूछा है ना? So what we are doing? We are addressing this in introduction, going point wise. Is it clear? This is how you will write the brief introduction about this question. Question number 17. Now here you have some space, Q, because 250 words है. So थोड़ा सा ज़्यादा elaborate कर सकते. That's the reason why I have given it 2 points. Now here let us see the immediately second part of the question. Mention its effect on the global climate. Now after this, as per Kyoto Protocol, I have written the greenhouse gases, right? Now let us try to understand. सबसे पहले हमने क्या देखा? Global warming, climate change, substantiation. We are writing these are the greenhouse gases that have caused this global warming and the climate change. Now let us see the impacts. This global warming and climate change have resulted into multidimensional impacts. एक ही impact नहीं है इसका. Not only melting of the ocean or the glaciers, both are impacts that we have to write. Multidimensional impacts on the climate system, because that is what is asked in the question. Multidimensional impact on the climate system. First, क्या किया होगा उसने? Tell me, how has the global warming and the climate change crisis changed the climatic system? How it has impacted? Tell me. Melting of particles. हाँ, वो एक है. आगे. How it has impacted? Okay. So basically, can I say climatic system में there is alteration of the सबसे पहला alteration of the weather patterns, right? Alteration of the weather patterns. Because question is asking about climatic system, इसलिए आपको शुरू में लिखना है alteration of the weather patterns, especially the precipitation, especially increasing droughts, floods, etc. Correct? It have also led to alteration of the heat budget. There is something called as heat budget of the earth that have been completely altered, and it have also adversely impacted, I would say, the hydrological cycle of the earth. क्यों hydrological cycle earth किया global warming? Because global warming leads to increase in temperature. It leads to increase in evaporation, more precipitation, right? That means this climate change is impacting the hydrological cycle also. Heat budget of the earth, कैसे heat budget? Because more heat is trapped. the total incoming heat budget क्या होता है अर्थ का, the total incoming of the solar radiation should be equal to outgoing solar radiation, thus maintaining the heat budget of the earth. However, in the recent times, earth का atmosphere has more proportion of CO2, so due to that more abundant amount of, I would say, carbon dioxide have been, more amount of heat have been captured in the earth's atmosphere. Due to that, heat of the earth have increased, right? हो गया alteration of the heat budget, alteration of the weather patterns, then hydrological cycle. Then you can also write about जो आपको पता है, that is due to this there is increase in temperature, global warming have contributed to increase in temperature and melting of the glaciers, or I would say use certain technical words like melting of the cryosphere. क्रायोस्फीयर में सब कुछ आएगा बेसिकली, आपका आर्टिक, एंटार्क्टिक, हिमालयन ग्लेशियर्स एक्सेट्रा सब कुछ आएगा, राइट? मेल्टिंग ऑफ द ग्लेशियर्स. नाउ दिस हैव आल्सो द क्लाइमेट चेंज, द हीटिंग ऑफ द, दैट इज क्लाइमेट चेंज, ग्लोबल वार्मिंग मतलब क्या? मोर टेम्परेचर. मोर टेम्परेचर आल्सो लेड टू इंक्रीज इन सी सरफेस टेम्परेचर, करेक्ट? It has also led to increase in sea surface temperature. Increase in sea surface temperature have led to the following things. It is mainly attributed to carbon dioxide. It have led to the phenomenon of ocean acidification also, correct? It have also led to intense evaporation. Due to this intense evaporation, as I mentioned, there is alteration in the hydrological cycle. But along with this intense evaporation, what can happen? There is increasing intensity and frequency of natural hazards like cyclones, correct? If you see in the recent times, intensity matlab more intense, more power. Frequency means total number of times. In the recent times, the total number of the cyclones visiting India, east coast and west coast have increased. It is mainly attributed to the global warming and the climate change crisis. That means it is leading to something called as, it has global climate crisis ke upar, it has led to impact on the adverse impact on the natural disasters, correct? In the, I would say in the oceans also, it have led to the formation of something called as, I would say, seventh, that is marine heat waves. Marine heat waves. I hope that you are knowing this point. If ocean temperatures are increasing, due to that these marine heat waves are more. If you try to understand, due to this melting of the glaciers, especially in the Arctic area, there is some phenomena called as Arctic amplification, correct? Arctic amplification ongoing. How is this Arctic amplification ongoing? Because imagine this is the earth surface and this is the glaciers, Arctic area mein, and if these are basically melting, so what is happening? The darker surface is directly exposed to the solar radiation. Now, since darker surface is exposed to solar radiation, so it will absorb more heat. So further intensification of the heat will lead to further melting. That means further amplification of this process. इसको बोलते हैं Arctic amplification. And plus this is leading to the, now imagine this, the albedo, the reflectivity index of the glacier is more with respect to the land. So I would say due to this melting of the Arctic or Antarctic, the albedo of the earth is also declining. Bring certain keywords to the answer. Are you understanding it? So this much would be sufficient because the question is of 250 words, 15 marks, itna kafi hai. You can also write about other points also. For example, global warming in the context of, if you consider Kyoto Protocol, because question is about Kyoto Protocol later. These few of the gases like CFC etc. are also contributing to the ozone depletion etc. Right? So this much point I want you to write it in matlab point wise. Now when you are writing these answer points, what you can do, you can make use of certain data statistics. For example, you can make use of Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change and its various reports, various assessment reports. For example, iska assessment report like I would say special report on ocean and cryosphere. There are total 6 assessment reports of this IPCC. you can make use of this data, etc., to tell that how the oceans are expanding, thermal expansion is happening in the oceans, how the total number of the intensity and frequency of the disaster is increasing, how ocean acidification is happening, marine heat waves, Arctic amplification. When you are writing about Arctic amplification, you also write that in Arctic areas, in recent times, in temperate areas, in polar areas, you are able to see what is called as Arctic heat waves, right? The temperature in nearby temperate areas, that is 70° north latitude, temperature kitna hua tha last time? There were reports at 38 degrees centigrade. Getting the point? So that is going to impact basically the local biodiversity, local climate, etc. Is it clear? So these are few of the multi-dimensional impacts on the climatic systems. Is it clear? ये आपको 9 to 10 points लिखने हैं after this precise introduction. इसमें as per this WMO, when you write this, you can also substantiate points by certain, as I mentioned, by IPCC report. Is it clear? Now after this, the question says, I am again repeating, हो गया first point, discuss the global warming, done, discuss the global warming, हो गया. Second, mention its effect on the global climate, हो गया. Effect, multi-dimensional effect. You can also write इसके बाद में in conclusion essay इसके नीचे that this climate change and global warming, one line, as climate change and global warming leads to chain reaction on different components of ecology, leading to ecological degradation and subsequently imbalances. मतलब एक chain reaction है ये. Global warming is leading to the multi-dimensional impacts, and that impact is nothing but a chain reaction, which is leading us towards the ecological imbalance, right? That is what we are facing right now. इसके बाद ये लिख लो. Next part of the question says, explain the control measures. Now since this is causing a problem, क्या? Greenhouse gases are causing a problem. Which are the problems? These are the problems. We need to find certain measures. This is what question is saying. Question is saying, explain the control measures. In this context, the following control measures या फिर mitigation measures are as follows. Control measures are as follows. आपको 250 words में लिखना है आंसर, इसीलिए मैं ये पूरा कर रहा हूँ. तो I have that synopsis also, right? So control measures कैसे लिखो? Control measures to bring down the greenhouse gases. हमें क्या करना है? Control measures to bring down greenhouse gases are as follows. Which cause the global warming in the light of the Kyoto Protocol. The control measures to reduce the greenhouse gases was emphasized by United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change in its COP3 in 1997 through something called as Kyoto Protocol. So UNFCCC in COP3 1997 brought something called as Kyoto Protocol. You write immediately after this, it aims to stabilize the greenhouse gases emissions, correct? Stabilize the greenhouse gas emissions and stabilize the greenhouse gas emissions and reduce the global warming and associated climate change crisis. ये इसका aim and objective है. In this context, it classifies, it mentions various responsible greenhouse gases like CO2, nitrous oxide, methane, perfluorocarbons, hydrofluorocarbons and sulfur hexafluoride. So we have to stop this, and this has been mentioned by Kyoto Protocol. Immediately you write, to implement this, for implementation, it commits the industrialized or developed countries to reduce the greenhouse gases. इसका मतलब क्या हुआ? It sets the legally binding targets. ये क्या करता है? Legally binding target किसके ऊपर? सिर्फ developed countries के ऊपर. And how is it going to reduce this? How is this Kyoto Protocol mechanism going to reduce the greenhouse gas emission? For that, Kyoto Protocol gives following mechanism to reduce this greenhouse gas emissions. For reducing greenhouse gas emissions, it generally legally binds the developed countries and emphasizes on the principle of common but differentiated responsibilities. CBDR. It emphasizes on common but differentiated responsibilities. Why? Because developing and underdeveloped countries are differentially responsible for present climate change crisis. It is the Western countries and the industrialized countries mainly responsible for the present day climate change crisis, right? And each country in the present time have differential ability to tackle climate change. In this context, there should be differential responsibility of each country. सही है? इसीलिए CBDR principle is there. It will help to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions, especially by the developed countries, right? And it will also ask the developed countries to help the developing countries. Similarly, it emphasizes upon carbon trading mechanism. It sets something called as carbon trading mechanism and emission offset trading mechanism through something called as clean development mechanism and joint implementation. As per these two emission trading, यहाँ पे क्या होता है? In this clean, I will not explain in detail. In clean development mechanism, Annex 1 countries, that is the developed one countries, are allowed to set certain emission reduction unit, that is I would say the green plants, the green projects in another developing countries. Thus they would earn something called as emission reduction units. इसको बोलते हैं हम लोग offset trading, carbon offset trading. Getting the point? Similarly, when the same thing is done by the developed country in another developed country, that is by Annex A country into Annex B country, that is the Annex B country is a subgroup of the developed country, then that is called as joint implementation. इससे क्या होगा? You are implementing offset trading mechanism or green projects. So whenever you are implementing green project, that means you are reducing the greenhouse gases. सही है? For this, it also mentions that later it brings something called as adaptation fund. This adaptation fund later, ये adaptation fund क्या करता है later? It assists the developing countries किसके लिए? To basically bring the certain green projects. Are you understanding it? Also, technological transfer have been also emphasized under this Kyoto Protocol. Getting the point? So question इसके बारे में ही बस. However, in conclusion, you write one small flow chart. या फिर in the body part before conclusion you can write a small flow chart. ऐसे आपको लिखना है, so that this flow chart emphasizes everything. That is, सबसे पहला 1997 Kyoto Protocol, and it was to be implemented in phase 1 as 2005 to 2012. Then in 2012, for the continuation, Doha was signed and phase 2 of the Kyoto, that is 2013 to 2020 was signed, but still there were various countries could not come together for the implementation, or could not, I would say, find the consensus with respect to climate change crisis. Then in 2015, in COP21, Paris Agreement was signed, and in this Paris Agreement there was shift towards something called as NDC, and recently in 2022, I would say, COP26 in Glasgow took, right? So in general you can write about this, and in conclusion, when you are writing this, in conclusion you can write that despite the paradigm shift, from legally binding towards non-legally binding things, the countries have now in the recent times have to enhance their NDC so that they can reduce the climate change crisis. Else, if the present rate of the emissions or the economic growth keeps on going for another 40 years or 20 years, then the climate change or the increase in global temperature is around 2.4 degrees centigrade. So if there is an increase by over 2 degrees centigrade, then there is going to be ecological disaster. Getting the point? So you write, and in conclusion, to limit the global temperature rise to agreed 2 degrees centigrade, we need to enhance, there is need to enhance the NDCs by the countries. Is it clear? There is also need for the paise ke liye chahiye, sab kuch chahiye, but here we are not focused upon that part. So this is the question number 17. I hope that you are getting it. So ये around 250 words to 280 words हो जाएगा. That is definition of global warming. That is what was asked. Who is responsible? Why it is responsible? Its impact, and उसके ऊपर solution क्या लिखोगे? That is Kyoto Protocol. I hope that you are understanding. This is how exactly आपको answer लिखना है. Is it clear? I hope that you are understanding it. Let us see question number 18. अभी क्वेश्चन नंबर 18 देखते हैं. 17 समझ में आया? 18. This time the questions are pretty easy and direct. Again, direct question. Explain the causes and effect of coastal erosion. Directly शुरू में ही आपको लिखना है coastal erosion का मतलब क्या है, what are the causes and what are the impacts. In India, what are the available coastal management techniques for combating the hazard? Which hazard? Coastal erosion is a hazard. Getting the point? So how are you going to start this answer? Divide this answer 4 part में. First, coastal erosion in brief, what is it? Second, what are the causes? In causes you will write about natural causes and anthropogenic causes, not only just natural anthropogenic causes. उसके बाद effects, multi-dimensional effects लिखोगे आप, and in conclusion you are going to write the management techniques. Let me show you how to write the answer. Question number 18. Coastal erosion. Actually, this time का paper was very high scoring. I personally feel very easy, very high scoring, because questions were absolutely straightforward. उसमें कुछ भी नहीं है. So, explain the causes and the effects of the coastal erosion in India. So, start with telling something called as erosion. What is coastal erosion? Tell me what is the meaning of, I would say, weathering. What is weathering? Weathering is something called as physical disintegration and chemical decomposition of the rock materials. Once this weathering is done, then there would be certain erosional agent like wind, water, glacier that would be taking away all this weathered material. That means weather is aiding the erosion process. And what is erosion? Erosion is nothing but collection, transportation, and collection, acquisition and transportation of the eroded material. So coastal erosion में क्या होगा? It is nothing but a process of the removal of what? the coastal rock material and the sand. So you can write this: coastal erosion is basically process of removal of coastal rock and rock materials and sand, mainly sand materials, rock and sand materials, mainly or primarily due to who is the main agent of erosion here? Due to wave action. Correct? Are you understanding it? Now question is speaking about wave coastal erosion in the Indian context. You immediately try to do, हमें क्या लिखना है अभी? Causes लिखना है, right? Causes and ये. But before writing the causes for the wave erosion can be clubbed under two heads, that is natural causes and anthropogenic causes, that is man-made causes. So when you are writing about this coastal erosion, immediately try to tell that the coastal erosion in India, how much it is challenge on the both the coast. So ये बाद में निकालने वाला हूं मैं, but यहाँ पे अभी निकाल के रखता हूं. So we know that western coast of India, I'm not writing it, I'm explaining. Western coast of India is a submergent coast, eastern coast of India is the emergent coast. We know that basically the eastern coast of India is more prone to the coastal erosion, right, because of more cyclones. So there would be certain ministry or agency or particular institution which will be giving us the data or the report about the coastal erosion in India. So here you can write that Ministry of Earth Sciences, under Ministry of Earth Sciences, there is something called as National Center for Coastal Research. NCCR. So this National Center for Coastal Research, it shows that in India, out of very wide coastline that India has, almost around one third, or I would say 33% of the coastal area is prone to the coastal erosion. And this coastal erosion have especially increased in the last 20 years. This is what this research ka report says. It says that in India, almost around one third of the coastal area is more prone to the coastal erosion. And this coastal erosion has also increased manifoldly, that also in last 20 years. You can also tell one example if you want. In around, if you consider West Bengal ka coastline is around 535 kilometers. Out of that, almost 300 or 315 kilometers ka coastline is completely in the recent times trying to get submerged, more impacted by the cyclones. For example, in 2000, if I'm not wrong, 18 or 19, there was super cyclone named as Cyclone Amphan. This Cyclone Amphan uprooted many trees. Super cyclones are abhi. Pehle normal cyclones the. Super cyclone means more very intense, more speed. So that are impacting more coastal ecology. Getting the point? So this is how you tell that this shows us that India's coast is more prone to coastal erosion. When you are trying to tell what is it more reasons for the proneness, now come to the natural reasons. The natural reasons is wave action, right? Uske baad we have cyclones. Uske baad we have tsunamis, right? Uske baad we have storm surge, tidal currents, etc. I hope that you are knowing this phenomena, right? So due to all these phenomena, the coastal area is under the threat of erosion. This is main, right? But do not forget to write the natural causes also. In anthropogenic factors, it is mainly, for example, due to causes like sand mining, increase in mean sea level, dredging, right? Encroachment, deforestation of mangrove vegetation. Due to all these reasons, the eastern coast and the western coast is more prone to the erosions. For example, diagram पे दिखाओ आप, in the recent times this coastal ecology is adversely impacted, more intense cyclones, right? In these city areas, encroachment is happening, right? Encroachment, cyclones are increasing, right? Dredging, ये सब कुछ you can show it on map also. I'm just trying to tell you the reasons, right? Now due to this mining, that is not mining, rather I would say the coastal erosion, there are going to be effects which are adverse, the effects or the impact. The UPSC is using the words in the question, explain the effects. I'm reading the question again. So question says that explain the causes and the effects of the coastal erosion in India. I hope that you are understanding it. Meaning in India how it is, uske baad causes, and uske baad let us try to understand the impacts. When you are writing the impacts, try to write the impacts in multi-dimensional way. Understand this. Multi-dimensional way matlab kya? It is going to impact all the ecological components. Correct? सबसे पहला, it is going to impact the highly ecological productive ecosystems. Ecological productive ecosystems. In bracket आप लोग क्या लिखोगे? Use the term ecotone. Ecotone areas like mangroves, estuaries, etc. Correct? That means ecosystem functioning of the particular area, the coastal ecology is going to be impacted because you are going to disturb the ecological productive area. Due to this, there is going to be habitat destruction, loss of the coastal sand and the minerals. Due to habitat destruction, there will be adverse impact on the biodiversity, right? Similarly, the livelihood, or I would say fishing activity and the livelihood activity of the people in the coastal area would also be impacted. Are you understanding it? Similarly, due to this coastal, I would say, due to this coastal erosion, the corals, which are again the highly, I would say, ecological productive areas, would also be impacted. Coral ecosystems will also be impacted. So, iska matlab hai coastal erosion is going to cause a lot of impact. So, here you can give example. For example, recently there were reports that in Kerala, there is one coast called as Kovalam coast. In that Kovalam coast, basically the corals were impacted because of the increasing submergence. So, again, Sundarbans you can mention have been impacted, uski wajah se biodiversity has been impacted in that area. So you can write the examples along with these points. Are you getting it? So uske baad question says that after this, what are the available coastal management techniques for the combating the hazard? Right? The last part of it. After writing these effects, substantiate with certain examples. Uske baad, here what you can do is that here you can write the impact by substantiating the report of the IUCN. IUCN या फिर WWF का report you can mention, that is living planet report you can mention, living planet report. As per this report you can tell that how the habitat destruction is impacting the which particular ecology, the aquatic ecology, especially in these most ecological productive areas. Is it clear? यहाँ पे while after giving examples in one or other point, what you need to do is that सारे इसमें आपको substantiate नहीं करना है. Only one or other point you substantiate and in some other points you give examples. So that's why it becomes much more diverse, right? Uske baad, the last point it says that ki question is saying what are the available coastal management techniques. In this context, we have to find the coastal management techniques. So question is asking us about coastal management techniques. सिर्फ अफॉरेस्टेशन से काम नहीं चलेगा यहाँ पे, right? You have to go beyond that. Beyond that. So यहाँ पे yes, definitely I would first write it here. There are certain legislative and statutory measures also. Techniques में legislative and statutory measures. जैसे for example, Environment Protection Act 1986 is there, right? This is a comprehensive act. Under this comprehensive act, there is something called as ecological sensitive zone areas are declared, and also CRZ rules derive their power from this EPA. So this ecological sensitive zone and CRZ rules shall help in protection of the coastal areas, correct? ये तो आपको लिखना है. Then उसके बाद afforestation या फिर stopping of the deforestation. That is in simplest what I would say, protection of the mangroves. Protection of mangroves, etc. ये तो लिखना है. But along with this, certain structural measures, human measures like construction of the, yeah, you're right, sea walls. The construction of the sea walls along the sea side, coastal side, is going to reduce the velocity of the sea waves coming towards the coastal areas. So that is going to break the velocity, and henceforth the erosion is going to reduce. You also have certain hydraulic structures like gyre. I would say, if you see in this drawing, these are the hydraulic structures. Especially along the beaches area. So the long wave oceanic currents, the speed would be reduced by these groins. उसके बाद you have additional, you are going to enrich the sandbars. कैसे? By doing something called as additional beach nourishment. That means artificially you are going to add the sand or the soil along the coastal areas. Again, that will reduce the speed. उसके बाद और एक है corals, artificial coral reef development. That is called as coral restoration. Artificial reef development. Why artificial reef development? Because coral reefs, I would say, are the first line of defense against the cyclones, tsunamis, or the wave actions, right? So artificial reefs, sea walls, groin, additional beach nourishment, artificial reefs, sand fencing, various structures these are the structural measures. If you are adding these, then what we can say, the coastal erosion can be reduced. Last में ऐसा लिखो, in conclusion, despite this NDMA guidelines or for disaster mitigation के लिए, या फिर you can write, the government should follow in letter and spirit these two things. That is environment impact assessment for giving the clearance for any project in coastal area, and also in letter and spirit the implementation of the CRZ rules with emphasis on the protection of the mangroves. Is it clear? So this is how you write this answer. ये आपके points में आने चाहिए. So these were the 3 questions related to the ecology. I hope that you got the broader structure, right? And इसके बाद if you want, you can again, it will be uploaded to the Telegram channel. You have ये पूरा this, I would say, ये आपको synopsis मिल जाएगा. You can again go through this synopsis. ये पूरा इसमें detail है, right? But these are the points which I told. इसी इसमें लिखोगे आप, so you can manage all the content or the demand of the question in 250 words, and that also in limited time. Is it clear? So these were all questions of the ecology. इतना ही था ना? After this, let us see the internal security questions. So question number 18 done, 17 done. This is internal security. This is internal security. We have done with this 7 हो गया. Now let us see question number 9, 10, right? Cloud burst disaster management का है, वो बाद में डिस्कस करता हूं मैं. Question number I would say 9 and 10. 9 क्या है? Internal security. Very easy. Again, if you have read the syllabus now, this time the beauty of the paper is that सब कुछ syllabus में से directly and repeated themes. Discuss the type of the organized crimes. So when you are writing the type of the crimes, अभी कितना? Again the challenge is 150 words. What is organized crime? What are the type of organized crime? Describe the linkages between the terrorist and organized crime that exist at national and transnational level. So here you have to write initially the definition of what is organized crime. It is asking you about the type of the organized crime, but if you are writing about what is organized crime, it becomes much more meaningful. So I would suggest you to start the answer with the idea about the organized crime. So what is organized crime? You can try to tell that organized crime definition as per Interpol or United Nations Convention with respect to transnational organized crime, UNCTOC, or as per the MOCA basically act. कोई भी एक दे सकते हो as per that what is the definition. If you are not knowing these things, you can try to tell that organized crime is nothing but a illegal या फिर unlawful activity, illegal or unlawful activity carried out by 3 or more people in systematic, planned and organized way for direct or indirect economic benefits. समझ में आ रहा है आपको? मतलब let me try to tell you through writing. We are right now dealing with question number 9. Internal security question number 9. I am writing the question that is discuss the type of the organized crimes. So organized crime is a unlawful activity, committed by, you can just write a group of people, because since there is two things, दो चीजें, there is something called as United Nations Convention on Trans-Organized Crime, United Nations Convention on Transnational Organized Crime, question organized crime का है ना, so that is why this is more apt, या फिर Interpol का there is one definition, but in general organized crime का no accepted definition is there till date. There is no accepted universal definition. We have general idea about organized crime. So that's why we are saying that it is an unlawful activity or illegal activity committed by 3 or more than 3 group of people in organized, systematic and planned way, in planned manner for direct or indirect economic benefits. This is the most important thing. So you can write as per organized crime, as per United Nations Convention on Transnational Organized Crime, is a unlawful activity committed by 3 or more than 3 people through illegal means. You can write here still through illegal means, in organized, systematic and planned manner for direct and indirect, सिर्फ इसको अंडरलाइन करो, that is economic benefit. Through this examiner will understand, आपको पता है organized crime क्या है, because there is a direct correlationship between the organized crime and terrorism. That is what is the second part of the question. Now the beauty of this question is that you should write both of the things simultaneously. I will just read it again. Question says explain or discuss the type of the organized crimes and describe the linkages between the terrorist and organized crime that exist at national and transnational level. So here you would immediately write, after this writing the definition of organized crime, what you can write is that organized crime, I am writing short form, organized crime and terrorism are in symbiotic association with each other. Correct? They are in symbiotic association with each other, where both of them are interrelated and interdependent upon each other. Right? अगर आप देखोगे organized crime and here you can consider terrorism or terrorist group. So terrorist group and ये दोनों symbiotic relationship में, there is a symbiotic relationship where both of them are interdependent upon each other. Organized crime is a particular criminal activity done by certain groups, syndicate group, mafia group होगा, drug cartels, armed cartel groups, fake currency का groups, but their main aim is economic profit. They do it for economic purpose. पैसा चाहिए उनको. They do not prefer something called as violence. शांति में सिर्फ पैसा चाहिए मुझे, बाकी कुछ नहीं चाहिए, right? However, terrorism is mainly for political या फिर ideological purpose. Ideological purpose where violence is preferred. जहाँ पे violence is preferred. But both of them cannot be separated. Also, in recent times, you can write, in recent times, this complex correlationship have further evolved due to increasing connectivity, poor governance and porous boundaries. These are the main reasons. Correct? सबसे पहला, for example, which syndicate is operating in Myanmar or Laos, मुझे पता नहीं था, but अब internet है ना. Getting the point? Due to internet, connectivity is increasing. Right? Easily radicalization, easy connectivity is there. Plus, nowadays, most of the, if you consider African countries, Latin American countries, etc., Paulo Escobar को सबको पता होगा, right? Crime syndicate, drugs, etc. Everyone might have watched that Netflix का series also. So we know that basically nowadays there is, due to lack of governance in certain, especially underdeveloped or developing countries, due to the laxity in the laws, the syndicate groups take, I would say, the advantage of it and establish their own syndicate groups, right? And thus porous boundaries also aid in the movement of all the organized crimes. So this, both of them are in symbiotic relationship, interdependent, and the complexity is further increasing. Now this have led to the different type of organized crimes. So when I am writing about the types of organized crime, like सबसे पहला smuggling, I would say smuggling. अब किस चीज का स्मगलिंग होता है? सबसे पहला ड्रग्स, सेकेंड आर्म्स एंड वेपन्स, और आई वुड से नार्कोटिक्स, उसके बाद गोल्ड, उसके बाद इलेक्ट्रॉनिक गुड्स. डू नॉट, वाह, आईफोन सबको चाहिए ना बिग बिलियन डे में, तो सो इलेक्ट्रॉनिक गुड्स एक्सेट्रा. या एनिमल, वेरी गुड. कैटल स्मगलिंग, वेरी गुड. कैटल. उसका सेकेंड आई वुड से ह्यूमन ट्रैफिकिंग, और आई वुड से प्रोस्टिट्यूशन, ह्यूमन ट्रैफिकिंग एंड प्रोस्टिट्यूशन. उसके बाद मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग, फेक करेंसी, इंडियन नोट्स, हवाला ट्रांजैक्शंस. सही है ना? All these things are nothing but the type of the organized crime only. क्या? बैंक रॉबरी एक्सेट्रा, मतलब वो भी है, बट मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग एंड ये ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है, मतलब हवाला वगैरह, क्रिप्टोज वगैरह. नाउअडेज अभी we have moved on to technical, अभी ये बहुत कम रहता है. So these are the few of the important, I would say, the techniques used in the organized crime. Now you have to tell how they are seen at the national level and international level. Yes. So that is what. Yes, everything. Now I will tell you. So here I can say another in the form of what you are saying is extortion, gambling, illegal migration, etc. ये सब कुछ क्या है? The type of the organized crime. Illegal migration कैसे मैं बोलता हूँ अभी. But I hope that you got the idea. Now, if you try to understand, we have to establish what is the correlationship, because question says describe the linkages between terrorism and organized crime. So here after writing this, you can tell that for all this type of organized crime, you need the support of terrorism is aided, I would say is aided and supported by organized criminal linkages with respect to providing logistic support, human resources, etc. Correct? Food dete, khana dete, people recruitment, everything is provided by this organized crime. In simple words, they are acting like overground workers. So if you understand, example 1993 bomb blast in Mumbai, उसके बाद पुलवामा, पठानकोट अटैक इन इंडिया, 26/11, सारे जो अपने अटैक्स है इसके लिए, या फिर मिलिटेंसी इन जम्मू कश्मीर, इसके लिए ऑर्गेनाइज्ड क्रिमिनल सिंडिकेट. इफ देयर वाज नो ऑर्गेनाइज्ड क्रिमिनल सिंडिकेट, टेररिज्म मतलब वायलेंस वुड हैव नॉट बीन परपिचुएटेड ऑन द इंडियन सॉइल. मतलब इट इज ड्यू टू टेररिज्म. नाउ दिस टेररिज्म इज नॉट ओनली एट national level, at international level also. To explain that, you can make use of the diagrams and the examples. For example, just say I will draw through a diagram. I will explain the second part of the question. So the second part, I will try to explain the answer. So here, if you try to understand, so I hope that you will also draw this diagram in the examination. So if you consider India transnational level pe, yeah. So here, if you understand Iraq, Pakistan, Afghanistan, here you have something called as golden crescent, and here you have something called as triangle, that is Myanmar, Laos, Cambodia, right? Here Pakistan ye. So here there is production of something called as opium, पॉपी एक्सेट्रा, ड्रग्स वगैरह. यहां पे दोनों होता है, ड्रग्स प्रोडक्शन, नार्कोटिक्स प्लस आर्म्स. सो व्हाट इज हैपनिंग, वी हैव सीन दैट इंडिया का सर्टेन इंसर्जेंसी और एक्सट्रीमिज्म बेस्ड प्रॉब्लम्स लाइक नक्सलिज्म, इंसर्जेंसी, मिलिटेंसी इन जम्मू कश्मीर एक्सेट्रा आर fueled by these factors. Let us understand how. Because here there is ethnic linkages between the people. So the drugs etc. transfer from here to here, right? They come nearby Northeast India, especially if you understand the Northeast India, the geographic terrain in Northeast India, we have a rugged geographic terrain, right? Rugged topography plus dense forest, etc., which provides, plus there is something called as free boundary movement regime between India and basically Myanmar, 16-kilometer free boundary movement regime. Due to this, म्यांमार के यहाँ पे the terrorist organized groups generally have certain thing called as safe havens. So these countries provide certain thing called as safe havens for what? The terrorist groups या फिर organized criminal syndicate groups. Through there they will carry out their action. By taking the help of these basically land issues, I would say land issues मतलब rugged terrain, dense topography, forest vegetation. Through that the infiltration of the drugs etc. will start, and from here it will reach to Delhi, from here it will reach to basically towards the South India. If you want to understand the gold smuggling कैसे होता है, from here it will come to Chitgaon is in Bangladesh. So Tripura के वहाँ पे बहुत ज़्यादा rugged territory है. From there it will come to basically Assam, from Assam, Bihar, Kolkata, Vizag and then Bangalore, Hyderabad, Bangalore. ऐसे gold smuggle होता है इंडिया में. If you understand Delhi के यहाँ पे you will find lot of drugs. पंजाब में drug menace. From where is drug menace coming? Drugs is coming from here. Drugs. उसके बाद fake currencies. You might have heard about fake currency Indian notes. How they penetrate inside? Through basically underground tunnels. From above by basically engaging the Indian forces. वहां से आते. उसके बाद नक्सलिज्म के लिए basically open boundary with the Nepal. Right? Nepal के पास India and Nepal are good friends. Open boundary is there. By taking advantage of that open boundary, the organized criminal syndicate आते जाते रहते वहां से, right? So due to this, what is happening? The insurgency based problems or the extremism based problems, Naxalism, insurgency is also fueling. Plus terrorism is also being fueled, and organized criminal syndicates are also there, not only at national level but at global level. So this is how, by mentioning these points, you can also write the second part of the answer. I hope that you are understanding. In conclusion, what you write, in India, there is no specific law with respect to organized crime. In this context, we need to bring a law where a central agency would be there, which will be basically coordinating all the activities of this organized criminal linkages, and henceforth we can basically stop this. In this context, there was one United Nations resolution also brought in. We spoke about transnational organized crime to stop this. Is it clear? So it was brought in 2019, if I am not wrong, United Nations resolution 2482, that was related to terrorism and organized crime. You can also write about that in the conclusion part. Is it clear? So you write about these things, then you can try to tell through here that, for example, just Myanmar. In Myanmar, recently we had a military coup in Myanmar, right? So there is instability in Myanmar. So political instability plus basically poor governance. Poor governance, Pakistan to example, hey, Afghanistan, if you want to have one data statistics, around 85% of the opium or poppy is produced in Afghanistan, और अब ये Afghanistan is under control of Taliban. तो सोचो क्या होगा, right? So all this, yeah, ideal. तो already मतलब government ही उनके हाथ में अभी, right? So this is providing the complete safe ground for the easy, I would say, organized crime, and so syndicate is further increasing terrorism ka ye, right? So you can conclude with the points which I have told you earlier. So this is question number, sorry, नहीं वो साइबर सिक्योरिटी में लिखेंगे. ऑर्गेनाइज क्रिमिनल में जनरली फिजिकल फॉर्म इज जनरली ऑर्गेनाइज. सो ये बेसिकली यू कैन कंसिडर दैट पिगस इकोनॉमिक बेनिफिट जिससे भी होगा, दैट इज ऑर्गेनाइज क्राइम. Yeah, transnational, if you want, you can write in about what is happening in eastern, I would say, Asia, then Sahel. यहाँ पे if you try to understand, अगर आपको ये यमन क्राइसिस पता है, राइट, सोमालिया, यमन क्राइसिस, ये जो सारे जो चल रहे, दैट इज बिकॉज ऑर्गेनाइज्ड क्रिमिनल सिंडिकेट ओनली ना. अल शबाब वगैरह सब कुछ लिख सकते हो आप, राइट. बट द पॉइंट इज, इफ यू ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड, ये सिर्फ और सिर्फ 150 वर्ड्स में लिखना है. That is what is the challenge. इसीलिए मैं बोल रहा हूं, make use of the diagram. Is it clear? This is a direct question.
What about completely national?
National में you can write ना, दिल्ली का, पंजाब का drug menace, Naxalism is been basically, I would say, fueled by the funding from this CPI group, right? Marxist Leninist, which is banned, right? जो present है वो वाला नहीं, right? Sorry? लिंक क्या हो रहता है, मैं बोलता हूं. इज आस्किंग ऑनलाइन स्टूडेंट्स, इज आस्किंग मी द लिंक. लिंक ये है, इनको चाहिए पैसा, इनको वायलेंस, आइडियोलॉजी, पॉलिटिकल क्या कर रहे हैं आप, उससे मतलब नहीं है. इनको मतलब किससे, मेरे को पैसा कमाना है. और ये क्यों पैसा कमाना चाहते हैं? बिकॉज इनके पास पैसे के लिए अपॉर्चुनिटी नहीं, नो एम्प्लॉयमेंट अपॉर्चुनिटी, कुछ नहीं. बेस्ट वे क्या है, पैसा कमाओ. कहां से पैसा कमाओगे? दीज आर द पीपल हु कैन इजीली प्रोवाइड देम बेसिकली मनी. सिर्फ मेरा एक काम करो, ड्रग्स का पैकेट ये बॉर्डर से वहां पे लेके जाओ, मैं आपको देता हूं पैसा. करेगा ये? गेटिंग द पॉइंट? ये मेनली आर इकोनॉमिक ओरिएंटेड, राइट. चलो पूरा कंप्लीट करते हैं, उसके बाद वी टेक ऑन द क्वेश्चंस. दीज आर वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग टॉपिक्स एक्चुअली. क्वेश्चन नंबर 10, अगेन इन इजी क्वेश्चन. क्वेश्चन नंबर 10 ऑनलाइन स्टूडेंट्स के लिए. So I hope that you got the idea. Types of organized crimes, smuggling वगैरह सब कुछ, कैसे नेशनल, इंटरनेशनल. Coming to what are the maritime security challenges? Again, more or less the same type of question where you can make use of the diagram, write many points. Maritime security challenges in India. Discuss organizational, technical, procedural initiatives taken to improve the maritime security. So what is maritime security? It is nothing but protection and safeguarding of the India's coastal areas and the boundaries. In that context, हमें क्या करना है? Maritime security challenges देखने, right? Let us start. What are the maritime security? याद कर लो. Maritime security challenges देखने हमें Indian context में सिर्फ, right? And depend upon that initiatives देखने. उसके बाद we divide कौन सा procedure है, technical है, etc., right? Coming to the point, maritime security. Maritime security is basically, I would say, ensuring maritime security is maintaining coastal या फिर maritime sea based maritime protection or territorial integrity, right, from anything. Now in this context we have to understand what are the maritime challenges, maritime security challenges. To understand maritime security challenges, we have to first understand there are certain issues associated with it. For example, there is, I would say, diverse topography. I will just show it through the diagram. India का maritime security challenges. First, why is it maritime security is a challenge for India? Because of diverse topography. Diverse topography क्यों? यहाँ पे क्या है basically? What is the topography here? कच्छ है, मतलब क्या है वो? This is basically bays, estuaries, right? मतलब diverse geographic topography, right? Bays, estuaries, creeks. So ये क्या है? Diverse topography. Plus disputed water based areas, right? And unfriendly neighbors, Pakistan, right? Due to these things, due to three reasons, diverse topography मतलब bays, estuaries, ये सब कुछ, disputed waters मतलब जैसे Sir Creek issue, then fisherman issue with the Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, etc. And उसके बाद unfriendly neighbors. Due to this, the challenges are multidimensional. Let us understand the challenges. So when I am writing the challenges, so I am writing the challenges directly in the diagram, but आप लोग point wise लिख लो, okay? सबसे पहला challenges with respect to, I am writing here with respect to infiltration, correct? Infiltration of the terrorist, उसके बाद drugs, उसके बाद fake currencies, right? And arms. Not only from here, सभी तरफ होता है, but here I am showing on the ये. This is the first challenge. उसके बाद challenge of the terrorism, correct? Terrorism. Example 26/11 मुंबई कैसे भूल सकते हो, right? Terrorism. Secondly, what are the challenges? Basically, if you try to understand, most of the trade that India has, almost around 95% of the trade by the volume is through the ports, correct? So trade के लिए importance है. If you try to understand certain thing called as critical infrastructure मतलब nuclear power plants, space stations, naval base, उसके बाद refineries, ये सब कुछ क्या है? Along the coastal area, you want their protection, right? उसके बाद increasing, I would say, presence of Chinese presence यहाँ पे. You can just show it like this. Chinese policy of Belt and Road Initiative, right? Chinese presence, right? Then issue about the piracy, correct? Pirates of the Caribbean देखी होगी सबने, Jack Sparrow. So piracy based issues, piracy issue है, infiltration है, terrorism है, maintaining the security along the coastal area, critical infrastructure, increasing climate change security threats, and natural hazards, disaster. ये सारे क्या है? These are all the challenges. Getting the point? So these are the challenges, especially along what? The coastal area that India faces presently, right? Plus there are disputed borders. For example, जैसे कि सर क्रिक का लिखोगे आप, यहाँ पे you can write about fishermen issues, India and Sri Lanka. Getting the point? So ये सारे issues you can either mark it on the I would say on the map or you can write point wise. Is it clear? So for all these things there are 2 points. First point, in the answer you will write what is maritime security and why is it essential, or I would say significance in the other point. Another point is about why is it significance for the trade, for the सब कुछ के लिए आपको क्या चाहिए? Maritime security, and why is it concern? Because of these 3 reasons it is a concern, and what are the challenges? These are the challenges, right? This is exactly what is the demand of the question. In this context, question is asking you, so अगर इतना challenges है, so what is the measures that government of India have taken? Measures that government of India have taken, right? इसमें भी आपको क्या पूछा उसने? Procedural, technical, etc. So if you write all this organizational, technical initiatives, उसके बाद you have your procedural initiatives, etc. ये 3 पूछा है ना उसने. This is what is the demand of the question. So if you try to understand, ये question कितने marks का है? Basically only 10 marks, and you have to write complete this much detail. So it's better to write it on the, I would say, on the map. Make use of the map for the representation, so that you will write in minimum words, maximum information, and can write in only 7 minutes, right? So here when you are writing about the measures, so in general I will give you idea. So consider करो, if this is the coastal area that India has, India का coastal security have 3 tier mechanism. सबसे पहला Indian Navy, then उसके बाद Indian Coast Guard and Marine Police Forces, right? Marine Police Forces, Indian Coast Guard and Indian Navy. ये 3 tier structure है अपना. Marine Police Forces क्या करेगा? Patrolling and surveillance. Coastal Guard क्या करेगा? High seas. What is high seas? High seas मतलब along the from the baseline 200 nautical miles के आगे जो भी area है, that is basically I would say exclusive economic zone, but उससे पहले वाला high seas, right? See, this is the baseline, 12 nautical miles, 200 nautical miles, and इसके बाद basically high seas. In this high seas, if you want to protect your economic interest, etc., your vessels, commercial vessels, या फिर जो भी है, for that Indian Coastal Guard ख्याल रखेगा आपका, right? Are you understanding it? And Indian Navy तो आपको पता है, right? So along with this, you need coastal infrastructure. आपको coastal infrastructure चाहिए. For that, coastal security scheme. I will divide everything into that. Don't worry. Coastal security scheme for development of the infrastructure along the coastal areas. Then a committee तो चाहिए at the central level for management of the coastal and maritime security. इसके लिए क्या है? National Committee on Maritime and Coastal Security. It is headed by the Cabinet Secretary. तो ये क्या करेगा? All the data, real-time information, etc. would be coordinated. उसके बाद you have something called as Information Fusion Center in Indian Ocean region. ये भी क्या करेगा? Real-time information लेगा in Indian Ocean region and which will go to the central government for the processing. So ये जो है ना, this is what UPSC had asked only in the another words. Let us try to answer it. Organization level पे we have something called as coastal policing in 3 ways, that is Indian Navy, Indian Coastal Guards and something called as Marine Police Force. ये लिख लो यहाँ पे organization पे. Secondly, we can also mention about establishment of Custom Maritime Organization. It is as per the Nag Chaudhary Committee. It was established as per the Nag Chaudhary Committee to ensure that customs के पास में कुछ गलत चीजें ना हो, right? And in organization level, you have something called as national, as I mentioned, National Committee on Strengthening strengthening maritime and coastal security, which is headed by the आपका cabinet secretary. So it is going to strengthen the maritime and coastal security both. Is it clear? इसके लिए आपके पास these are the certain few of the organizational measures. This question is for only 10 marks 150 words, इसीलिए मैं limited में बोल रहा हूँ. Similarly, technical में what you can write is that coastal surveillance you need. Coastal surveillance के लिए you need a particular network. In that network you can have sensors along the coast, long range tracking, similarly day night cameras, etc. मतलब sensors along border management कैसे करते हो आप? We have something called as sensor satellites, right? Exactly वैसे long range tracking system, sensors, cameras for the coastal surveillance in technical based measures. Also in technical you can consider vessel trafficking management system. Vessel tracking management system. Q because in 2611 वहां से ही आए ना ये लोग, वेसल से ही उनको ट्रैक भी करना पड़ेगा. Similarly what we can show is that कि information fusion center Indian Ocean region. Where is its headquarter? Anyone? Gurgaon. Very good. So ये क्या करेगा? Information fusion center. Basically it is going to take real time information from this the people who are basically the members of it, process करेगा and will go to the basically for the effective functioning of this effective coastal security, right? इसके लिए उसके बाद procedural में you can write about the coastal security scheme. You can also mention about I would say India international maritime security strategy. There are n numbers of the points that you can include. Operation Sagar Kavach भी etc. So here whatever I mentioned earlier उसी को इसमें डाल दो. These are the organizational, technical and procedural measures, right? So this is the question number 10. समझ में आया? Easy है, direct है. Maritime security challenges, a diagram, infiltration, disputed boundaries, diverse topography, real time information चाहिए, piracy, terrorism, right? These are the challenges. उसके बाद discuss the organization, technical and procedural initiatives. Initiatives में हमने सब कुछ देख लिया अभी, right? So this is question number 9 and 10 done. 10 marks का. Now let us see another question, that is two more questions about the internal security. That is question number 19 and 20. So these are the last two questions of internal security. Again 30 marks, easy cup of tea. Direct questions. ये तो question तो cut copy paste है पहले वाला. मतलब if you just try to see this Naxalism question, that is 20 marks question, and if you just go home and just check UPSC 2013 till 2021 questions on Naxalism, ये पूरा repeat question. Question number 20 पूरा repeat. We are not dealing with that. पहले ये करते 19. What are the different elements of the cyber security? Keeping in view the challenges in the cyber security, इसका मतलब है सबसे पहले आपको elements लिखना है cyber security का. Before that, write what is cyber security, what are the types of the cyber security. उसके बाद challenges in the cyber security, third point. Fourth, examine the extent to which India has successfully developed a comprehensive national cyber security strategy. Question का मैं brief outline I will tell through this and then I will write the answer. First, try to tell what is a cyber security. Cyber security क्या है? Cyber security in simplest word is nothing but securing cyberspace. So what you can write? Protection of computers, networks and data over the cyberspace is called as cyber security. Correct? That is, you should have certain preventive and defensive mechanism for the protection of the data from hijacking the data, from compromising the data or stealing the data. जो कुछ भी होगा इससे related, that is cyber security. Now After giving that information about the cyber security, try to write what are the different elements of the cyber security. 4 लाइंस का मैंने डेफिनेशन बोला. Come to directly the types of the elements of cyber security. The cyber security essentially have multiple elements within it. जैसे एप्लीकेशन सिक्योरिटी. आप लोग क्या करते हो, इंडियन एक्सप्रेस पढ़ना है तो एपीके डाउनलोड कर लेते हो प्ले स्टोर से या फिर आई स्टोर. उसके बाद सम ऑफ द एप्स विच आर बैंड, जैसे कि कौन सा गेम हुआ था बैन, वो पबजी, राइट. तो वो भी मतलब एपीके गूगल पे मिल जाता है, पायरेटेड वर्जन, वो डाउनलोड कर लो. बट एप्लीकेशन themselves which you download on the mobile phones, on the laptops etc., come with lot of bugs which also have certain problems on the cyber security. So application security is one of the element of the cyber security. Second, operational security, right. उसके बाद data security. So वैसे आपके पास there are mainly 6 to 7 elements of the cyber security. In the recent times there is something called as cloud based security. सारा data information cloud के ऊपर है ना, उसको भी secure करना है आपको. So that is also one of the element of the cyber security. After telling the meaning of the cyber security and the elements of the cyber security, now आगे आ जाओ. That is keeping in the view challenges in cyber security. Then try to tell that despite this we have certain challenges. So when you are writing the challenges, try to start with report. As per NCRB report, National Crime Record Bureau report, in the recent times, cyber security challenges have grown manifoldly. As per the recent data, it says that it have grown by almost around 300% with respect to last 10 years. This is what NCRB says, not me. If you see what it says, still it says that due to cyber security and fraud, especially the commercial frauds, financial frauds, almost we have lost 1.25 lakh crore rupees. So ये कौन बोल रहा है? NCRB बोल रहा है. Plus NCRB says that in the recent times there is a increase in cyber security issues like, first, phishing, spams, malware, economic frauds, pornography, piracy. समझ में आ रहा है सबको? ये सब कुछ क्या है? और ransomware, वन्ना कराए, पेटिया, ये क्या है? डीकार्ट, attacks on the nuclear power plant, attacks on the critical infrastructure, ये सब कुछ क्या है? Cyber security threats. They have increased. That means they are posing certain challenges. Correct? So these are threats. These threats are posing a lot of challenges, especially in Indian context. Q? Because of following reasons. First, digital divide, digital illiteracy. अपने पास क्या है? Basically digital illiteracy, digital divide. We don't have human resource to tackle this. Good practices, सब कुछ lacking है अपने पास. एंटीवायरस ओरिजिनल यूज करते हो अपने लैपटॉप में? कभी लाइसेंस कॉपी होती है? कभी नहीं. पायरेटेड, राइट. बेसिकली इफ यू ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड द गवर्नमेंट एंड इट्स वेरियस इनिशिएटिव्स, जो कि हम लोग आगे डिस्कस करने वाले, देयर इज नो कोऑर्डिनेशन विद इन इट. ऑल दीज आर प्रॉब्लम्स. डेटा लोकलाइजेशन का प्रॉब्लम, राइट. दिस इज व्हाट श्री कृष्णा कमिटी हैड हाईलाइटेड. बीएन श्री कृष्णा कमिटी हैड हाईलाइटेड. सब कुछ प्रॉब्लम है अपने पास. दैट विल सी. इन दिस कंटेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज सेइंग हाउ मच कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव, क्वेश्चन इज सेइंग हाउ मच इंडिया हैज सक्सेसफुली डेवलप्ड, मतलब क्रिटिकली एनालाइज करना है आपको, हाउ मच सक्सेसफुली वी हैव डेवलप्ड अ कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव नेशनल साइबर सिक्योरिटी स्ट्रेटेजी. सो दिस नेशनल साइबर सिक्योरिटी स्ट्रेटेजी वाज ब्रॉट इन 2020. ये क्या है? दिस इज नॉट अ पर्टिकुलर पॉलिसी और समथिंग, इट्स अ स्ट्रेटेजी, मतलब एक फ्रेमवर्क है ये. In this framework, it explains how India is moving towards the cyber security, and आपको इसका analysis करना है, whether it is successful या not successful. So what is the strategy? सबसे पहला, legal measures. India में all the issues with respect to the cyber crimes and cyber security are dealt under IT Act 2000. It is a comprehensive act which deals with the cyber crimes and justice dispensation with respect to the cyber crimes. कौन डील करता है? IT Act and the various provisions with respect to it. एक ही एक्ट है अपने पास mainly, and also you have various provisions of IPC, CRPC. But इसमें प्रॉब्लम ये है, most of the provisions of IPC, CRPC, IT Act, the local police पता ही नहीं है. This is what is reality. Awareness is needed because we have to do is how much India has successfully developed. Provisions are good, overlapping provisions are there. Getting the point? उसके बाद policy. Let us see policy. In this context, the policy was brought in. First policy, National Cyber Security Policy. After Edward Snowden ने जो reveal किया, I hope that you are knowing Edward Snowden. Who was he? उसके बाद इंडिया ने लाया National Cyber Security Policy 2013. अब 2022 है, तभी भी वही policy चल रही है. Let us understand what is there. So to build, to protect the system, data, network in cyberspace and a secure and a resilient cyberspace, National Cyber Security Policy लाया Government of India. In this policy, it said that, it emphasized that to develop IT professionals, software, hardwares, indigenous, that will help to build a safe, secure cyberspace. Development of the cyber labs, cyber forensic labs, very good. ये सब कुछ हमें क्या करना है, डेवलप करना है. How much is done? Let us see, understand. उसके बाद आगे. This is the first policy. उसके बाद नेशनल कम्युनिकेशन टेलीकम्युनिकेशन पॉलिसी लाया. Because all मतलब फॉर एग्जाम्पल नाउ ये तो अच्छा है, दिस इज व्यूसोनिक, बट इसके अंदर का दिस स्मार्ट बोर्ड इज ऑफ व्यूसोनिक, बट इसके अंदर का जो भी हार्डवेयर सॉफ्टवेयर जो भी होगा चाइना से लाते हैं हम लोग. इफ यू नो दिस इशू, विच कंपनी इट हैपन, हुआई, राइट? हुआई के साथ क्या हुआ, पूरा बैन किया यूएसए ने, बिकॉज इट वॉज सीन दैट देयर वर सर्टेन एम्बेडेड प्रोग्राम्स विद इन द हार्डवेयर इटसेल्फ which was snooping upon the data etc. Getting the point? So हमें खुद का डेवलप करना चाहिए, नहीं करना चाहिए, इसीलिए वो पॉलिसी है. सेकंड, सो फर्स्ट लीगल मेजर देखा, पॉलिसी देखे दो. नाउ इन दिस कंटेक्स्ट लेट अस अंडरस्टैंड इंस्टीट्यूशनल मेजर्स क्या लिया. सबसे पहला नेशनल साइबर कोऑर्डिनेशन सेंटर, एनसीसी, नेशनल साइबर कोऑर्डिनेशन सेंटर फॉर रियल टाइम असेसमेंट ऑफ द साइबर थ्रेट्स. उसके बाद फॉर इमीडिएट रिस्पॉन्स हमारे पास क्या है, कंप्यूटर इमरजेंसी रिस्पॉन्स टीम, CERT, CERT इन, ये भी अपने पास है. As I mentioned earlier, in the recent times, due to digitalization and governance, e-governance सभी तरफ है, right? All the critical infrastructure like economy, banks, nuclear power plants, aviation, Ministry of Home Affairs, सब कुछ ले लो, everything is digitalized. For protection of that means these are critical infrastructure, right? That means if you are compromising your Ministry of Home Affairs data, Ministry of External Affairs का data, then you're compromising upon the national security, correct? So you need to protect that. इसके लिए National Critical Infrastructure Information Protection Center, NCIIPC लाया. Getting the point? उसके बाद साइबर सुरक्षित भारत, साइबर स्वच्छता केंद्र, ये सब कुछ हमारे पास है. डिजिटल आर्मी प्रोग्राम, आप नाम ले लो, इतने प्रोग्राम्स है अपने पास. बट ये साइबर सिक्योरिटी कंप्यूटर इमरजेंसी रिस्पॉन्स टीम इज अंडर MITI, मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स इंफॉर्मेशन टेक्नोलॉजी. NCIIPC जो मैंने बोला, दैट इज अंडर PMO, NTRO ब्रॉट इट. दो अलग मिनिस्ट्री, दो डिफरेंट बेसिकली ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस, कब कोऑर्डिनेशन होगा इंडिया में, सोचो. गेटिंग द पॉइंट? So there is a problem about the coordination. उसके बाद इंडिया में as per the recent report, if I'm not wrong, there are only around 250 registered companies which are dealing with only the cyber security. सिर्फ 250 है कंपनी, सिर्फ 250. And India has second largest number of the internet users in the world after China. कितना चाहिए हमारे पास, चाहिए. There is no PPP. Have you ever heard that कि Adani, Ambani is in right cyber security space? अभी तक नहीं ना. मतलब we need PPP. We need to build the capabilities. पैसा देते हैं हम लोग रिसर्च डेवलपमेंट के लिए, नहीं. We need to invest. So ये सब कुछ आपको लिखना है ये क्वेश्चन में. I hope that you are getting the idea. By taking this idea, let us see how to write the answer. Now, after understanding all this, सुनने में मजा आता है ना, लिखने में देखो. What is it? क्वेश्चन नंबर कितना है ये? 19. सुनने में मजा आता है, मुझे पता है. That is what I would have done that through slides also. 5 मिनट में काम खत्म होता है वो. But this is what is challenging, right? So साइबर सिक्योरिटी, साइबर सिक्योरिटी का डेफिनेशन वी स्टार्ट. आई विल ड्रिंक वाटर. Cyber security is, see how to write in 250 words. I'm just trying to. Cyber security is protection of systems, networks, comma data, system, network, and data in cyberspace. In cyberspace. In cyberspace. That is, it is a set of preventive measures. It is set of preventive measures to protect the information from being stolen, compromised or hacked. इसको बोलते हैं साइबर सिक्योरिटी इन जनरल. तो राइट अ सिंपल डेफिनेशन. उसका मतलब क्या है, क्या करना है आपको? टू प्रोटेक्ट द इंफॉर्मेशन, राइट. सेकेंड पार्ट ऑफ स्टेटमेंट सेज दैट व्हाट आर द चैलेंजेस, राइट. सो आफ्टर दिस यू कैन टेल दैट कि साइबर सिक्योरिटी का इंडियन कंटेक्स्ट में क्या है. बेसिकली यू कैन राइट दैट कि एज पर साइबर सिक्योरिटी इज इसेंशियल बिकॉज ऑफ इंक्रीजिंग digitalization, increasing the penetration of the internet and the mobile connectivity. उसके लिए ensuring cyber security is essential. However, NCRB data, recent data 2020 का, as per NCRB, in the recent times the cyber security based challenges are increasing. Which are those? Which I have mentioned it. Example, like you can write like the phishing attacks, malware, cyberbullying or harassment, उसके बाद you can write about economic frauds, pornography, piracy, ransomware. All these are the cyber security threats. These are the cyber security threats in the recent times as per NCRB, and these have increased manifoldly. Correct? ये शुरू में आपको in just 5 to 6 lines you have to mention all these points. This is how you will start with the answer. Now in this context you have to write what are the challenges. I hope that you are writing this मतलब ये point definition के बाद, due to increasing digitalization and increasing penetration of the internet and mobile phone, we are this internet is digitalization is supporting the national capabilities and the critical infrastructure like energy, defense, and space, banking. So इसीलिए ensuring cyber security is essential. So here we have to just write in one way why is it essential and what are the threats as per NCRB. So in this context the challenges are as follows. Challenges से पहले उन्होंने क्या पूछा था? The types of the various elements of cyber security. Various elements of cyber security are as follows. As I mentioned, application security, second, information security, third, I will explain in general, network security, fourth, operational security, fifth, disaster recovery planning, and sixth you can write about end user education. So as I mentioned earlier, यहाँ पे क्या लिखा है हमने? Question was asking various elements of the cyber security, right? हाँ या ना? Do not miss the crux of the question. Different elements of the cyber security. शुरू में लिखा सिर्फ हमने cyber security क्या है in general, देन उसके बाद 3 पॉइंट्स एडेड, 6 लाइन्स हो गया. उसके बाद इमीडिएटली टाइप्स ऑफ साइबर सिक्योरिटी में एलिमेंट्स ऑफ साइबर सिक्योरिटी, एप्लीकेशन सिक्योरिटी. फॉर एग्जाम्पल एम्बेडेड बग्स विल कम विद द एप्स दैट वी डाउनलोड. इंफॉर्मेशन सिक्योरिटी मतलब हमें पता भी नहीं चला कि फेसबुक कब हमारा डेटा बेचने वाला था, राइट? इसीलिए डेटा लोकलाइजेशन आपने सुना है, डेटा लोकलाइजेशन, BN श्री कृष्णा कमिटी, उसके बाद पर्सनल डेटा प्रोटेक्शन बिल, ये आया था, सब कुछ इशू वाज गोइंग. दैट इज बिकॉज ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन, दैट इज डेटा. डेटा इज बेसिकली अ न्यू ऑयल, सो वो प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए भी सब कुछ है, राइट? उसके बाद नेटवर्क सिक्योरिटी, वी हैव मेंशन दैट की प्रोटेक्शन ऑफ द सिस्टम, नेटवर्क्स एंड डेटा, करेक्ट? डेटा ऑफ हुम, द कंपनीज, डेटा ऑफ हुम, कंपनी, इंडिविजुअल, गवर्नमेंट, सबका. फॉर दैट इंडिविजुअल जो भी होगा, यू नीड टू make aware of the end user, that is us. We should make use of the antivirus etc which are licensed etc. For that there is also need for end user education. Networks, whatever the online students are right now watching this I would say YouTube session, so network security भी चाहिए ना, पूरा LAN से connected हुआ है. Then operational security and disaster recovery planning, मतलब if something is compromised, what are you going to do, how is the action plan for you, that is वो सब कुछ यहाँ पे चाहिए. These are the elements you should know. What is the crisis management plan that you are going to follow if there is a cyber threat. So these are the important elements of the cyber security. In this context, the challenges are as follows. So ये next part of the question, challenges. What are the challenges of the cyber security? So the challenges of the cyber security are, there is lack of awareness. Lack of awareness. As I mentioned earlier, digital divide, lack of coordination among the agencies and ministries, उसके बाद as I mentioned, yeah, lack of training or human resource, I would say human resource, lack of human resources, lack of research and development, comma investment, etc. These are all the challenges associated with the cyber security, challenges with respect to the cyber security. सही है? So what we have seen also that only 255 companies are there with respect to the cyber security. Despite India has second largest number of the internet users, हमारे पास कितना है? सिर्फ इतने ही companies है which are specialized in the cyber security. Human resources नहीं है, training नहीं, capacity building. We need capacity, lack of capacity building, lack of best practices, So these are all the challenges that India is facing, and due to this, if you try to understand various reports, India is one of the world's, या फिर in Asia Pacific region, the largest one which receives the maximum number of the spams etc. There are various reports, you can also quote that to tell the challenges. In this context, we have to see how is this National Cyber Security Strategy a comprehensive. National Cyber Security Strategy. Is it comprehensive or not? So हमारी strategy क्या है? That is what first you should understand, right? First strategy हमने क्या देखा था? Legal. हमारा legal measure एक है policy based measures, and उसके बाद another institutional and scheme based measures. Legal measure में हमने क्या देखा था? This is, see, National Cyber Security Strategy was basically brought by Data Security Council of India, DSCI. आपको पता है? It was basically brought by Data Security Council of India. It's basically a broader framework which aims for cyber security or resilience, which aims to ensure cyber resilience and cyber security through something called as safe or secure, synergize, and third is strengthen. Through these three, yes, it aims to improve the cyber resilience and cyber security through securing. Secure क्या करना है आपको? Data, information, networks. Synergize क्या करना है? Coordination between the agencies. स्ट्रेंथन क्या करना है? बेसिकली ह्यूमन रिसोर्सेस, राइट, ट्रेनिंग, डेवलपमेंट, इंडिजिनियस डेवलपमेंट ऑफ द हार्डवेयर एंड द सॉफ्टवेयर, ये सब कुछ करने के लिए आपके पास स्ट्रैटेजी है. एंड फॉर दिस स्ट्रैटेजी लीगल मेजर्स इन द फॉर्म ऑफ द आईटी एक्ट and its various provisions which will help us in the justice dispensation of the cyber crimes, policies like National Cyber Security Policy 2013, National Telecommunication Policy, उसके बाद National Cyber Coordination Center, उसके बाद हमारे पास क्या है? कंप्यूटर इमरजेंसी रेस्पॉन्स टीम, उसके बाद नेशनल क्रिटिकल इंफॉर्मेशन इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर प्रोटेक्शन सेंटर, उसके बाद साइबर सुरक्षित भारत, डिजिटल आर्मी प्रोग्राम, जो भी है ये सब कुछ हमारे पास है. दीज आर ऑल द कंपोनेंट्स ऑफ द नेशनल साइबर सिक्योरिटी स्ट्रेटेजी. थ्रू दिस वी आर ट्राइंग टू अचीव द साइबर रेजिलियंस एंड एंश्योर सिक्योरिटी, सिनर्जी एंड स्ट्रेंथनिंग ऑफ द साइबर स्पेस. बट इसका इंप्लीमेंटेशन कितना है? दैट इज व्हाट आई टोल्ड यू. वी डोंट हैव अ लैक ऑफ फर्स्ट क्या है? कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग. वी नीड टू स्ट्रेंथन अपॉन कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग. लैक ऑफ रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट, लैक ऑफ इन्वेस्टमेंट, लैक ऑफ कैपेसिटी, राइट, ये सब कुछ लिख लो. इंटर-एजेंसी कोऑर्डिनेशन नहीं है. पुलिस आर नॉट अवेयर अबाउट द वेरियस प्रोविजंस ऑफ द लॉ. You also write about that. So this is how you write this answer. Is it clear? Very easy, very direct question. Is it clear? So this is question number 19. I hope everyone understood. Let us see question number, last question, that is question number 20, the most easiest of all. समझ में आ रहा है सबको? जैसे मैंने बोला था अगर वैसे लिखोगे तो ही 250 to 280 वर्ड्स में होगा. That also in time and that also addressing each and every component of the answer. Is it clear? So again, Naxalism is a social, economic and developmental issue. Very true. So which part of the syllabus is it related to? It is related to internal security. The first part of the syllabus which mentions that linkages between the development and the spread of extremism. Extremism का one of the form is Naxalism. And ये question आ गया Naxalism के ऊपर. So question says Naxalism is a social, economic and development issue manifesting as a violent internal security threat, right? So ये Naxalism नाम की कुछ तो extremism based thought process है. It has certain reasons and due to that reason there is internal security threat. This is what the first part of the statement says. So in this context question आगे है, discuss the emerging issues and the strategy, multi-layered strategy. सीधा क्वेश्चन है, कुछ भी दिमाग नहीं लगाना है. नक्सलिज्म लिखना है, कॉजेस लिखना है, उसके बाद इश्यूज लिखने हैं एंड सॉल्यूशन लिखना है. 4 पार्ट 15 मार्क्स ले लो, राइट? सो बेसिकली हाउ विल यू स्टार्ट? यू कैन स्टार्ट विथ राइटिंग द डेफिनेशन. और एक है इसमें 2 to 3 कमिटीज आर देयर. इसमें 3 मेन पॉइंट्स है. 1 बेसिकली आई वुड से बंदोपाध्याय कमेटी एक है 2006 का, जहाजा कमेटी एक है ट्राइबल के ऊपर, एंड थर्ड इज समाधान स्ट्रेटेजी, वो मैं बात करता हूं अभी. सो हाउ विल यू स्टार्ट दिस आंसर? विल स्टार्ट विद दिस नक्सलिज्म डेफिनेशन, कॉजेस, सोशियो इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंटल कॉजेस, राइट? उसके बाद सर्टेन इश्यूज एंड देन स्ट्रेटेजी. 4 पॉइंट्स देखेंगे. सो लेट अस सी लास्ट क्वेश्चन, दैट इज क्वेश्चन नंबर 20. नक्सलिज्म का डेफिनेशन से शुरू करेंगे, राइट? What is Naxalism? What is Naxalism, by the way? Yeah, it is an insurgent movement. So insurgency, there is a, see, understand, see, since now we are dealing, I will tell you a basic difference between the insurgency, terrorism and Naxalism. What is the basic difference between terrorism, insurgency and Naxalism? The question is about Naxalism. We are here to discuss Naxalism, but still I am trying to tell you. Ideology outside the country, religious angle, or Marxist ideology, okay, against the government, society. So ये क्या होता है? I will tell you just simplest word में. Terrorism ये बहुत बड़ा है. मतलब terrorism is a, understand, simplest words में, clear cut way. Terrorism is the act of violence. दुनिया में कोई भी वायलेंस चल रहा है, दैट इज वी कैन कंसिडर इट एज अ एक्ट ऑफ वायलेंस. an act of violence which is caused due to systematic, organized and in a planned way for either social, political, economic, ideological purpose, किसी के लिए भी रहने दो, that is your terrorism. That means it is a use of a violence for perpetuating socio-economic, political or ideological goals through systematic, organized and planned use of action. Now, insurgency means it's an act of a rebellion. It's an act of a rebellion by armed insurgent groups which want to basically establish their own country. जैसे नागालैंड सुना है आपने, NSCM खापलांग ग्रुप एंड NSCM आइजैक एंड मूविया ग्रुप. सो उसमें NSCM खापलांग ग्रुप है, व्हाट इट वांट्स टू एस्टैब्लिश सेपरेट नागालैंड. That means separate sovereign state. That means they are perpetuating the violence. Why? Because they want to establish a separate sovereign state. खलिस्तान, separate country बनाना है. ये हो गया इंसर्जेंसी. उसमें भी वायलेंस यूज होता है, बट उसका एम एंड ऑब्जेक्टिव क्या है? एस्टैब्लिश सेपरेट कंट्री, सेपरेट सोवरेन स्टेट. नक्सलिज्म में क्या है? एज यू राइटली सेड, नक्सलिज्म इज अ आइडियोलॉजी which makes use of the violence to destabilize the state, and capture the political power. उनका फाइनल एम क्या है? Capture the political power. That is what Mao says, that power goes to the barrel of the gun. So na, so Naxalism is or left-wing extremism is the use of the violence, by communist guerrilla warfare groups, to किसके लिए? To destabilize the state, and capture the political power. Right? Naxalism in India is based on the Maoism philosophy. Right? It started in the village of Naxalbari in Darjeeling district. Right? Under the leadership of चारू मुजुमदार. वो सब कुछ लिखना नहीं है, सिर्फ इतना लिखना है. राइट? सो बेसिकली इतना लिखे तो चलेगा. राइट? वी हैव वेरी लिमिटेड टाइम. Naxalism is the use of the violence by the armed guerrilla warfare groups to destabilize the state and to capture the political power. So they are based on the basis of the they follow the philosophy of the Mao. Right? Now question is, what are the causes? So here immediately you write the causes responsible, or you can write in second point, Naxalism in India is prevalent in the forested tribal area, where generally the tribal people live in basically isolation and have their own unique culture. For example, you can show in a small map, दिखाओ कहाँ पे ये है रेड कॉरिडोर रीजन. You can tell this, ऐसा डायग्राम निकालो, and in this diagram you can tell the red corridor map as per Ministry of Home Affairs. जैसे for example you can show more precisely दंतेवाड़ा, सुकमा, बीजापुर, right? Then गढ़चिरौली, मलकानगिरी, नक्सलबारी, right? तेलंगाना का कुछ पार्ट. So you show कहाँ पे है in general. So this is too big. So in general you show the map. So they will understand कि कहाँ पे location है इसका and why they are generally in a forested tribal area having own unique culture. So ये दो points and a diagram. Is it clear? Immediately come to cause. So causes में उन्होंने क्या पूछा है? Can someone read? Social, economic and developmental. So due to social, economic and developmental issues, the Naxalism have been on rise. Right? I feel left-wing extremism was there. So which are the social? First, social मतलब कौन? ट्राइबल पीपल, राइट. मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर ट्राइबल क्या है? याद रखना, जल, जंगल, जमीन. सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट इज ट्राइबल जो भी होगा, याद रखना, ट्राइबल, फॉरेस्ट एंड लैंड राइट्स. लैंड राइट्स ये सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट है. इसको यू कंसिडर दिस एंड ट्राई टू राइट आंसर. मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट. So basically, if you try to understand social causes, there is continuous why these are the forested people. Forest में रहने वाले people कौन है? Tribal. Tribal people live in isolation. They have unique culture. That does not mean that culture is bad, but that is unique culture, right? So due to that, there is continuous discrimination. Discrimination, correct? By the mainland people. Plus exploitation, continuous exploitation. Exploitation by bureaucrats also, police officers also. This is being proven by Bandyopadhyay committee. So human right violation, instances of the rape on the tribal women, ये जो भी सब कुछ है ना, social exclusion के कारण है. That means there is complete social exclusion, correct? So social exclusion के कारण this is happening. Also, economic में, if you try to understand basically the developmental needs, due to mining, etc., there is forceful displacement, correct? Forceful displacement of the people. The per capita income or the development as per the various HDI indicators show is very, very poor. Also basically social में you can also write here कि forest rights, land rights are not implemented in letter and spirit. उसके बाद डेवलपमेंट में इकोनॉमिक का मैंने बोला, डेवलपमेंट का also you can club this under this forceful displacement per capita income. समझ रहा है नहीं समझ रहा है? It is very easy. In economic also you can write development में क्या है वहां पे? Education, health, infrastructure कुछ है क्या वहां पे? Very poor. If you try to see one of the statistics, especially in Naxal affected areas in Bihar, in certain districts, the dropout rates is almost by 90%. Health infrastructure is very poor. Connectivity नहीं है, road connectivity नहीं, कुछ नहीं है, e-governance facilities नहीं. Plus, also simultaneously in economic part, you can also add that there is unemployment, poverty, illiteracy, lack of development, सब कुछ है वहां पे, right? So these are the causes. Due to that left-wing extremism is there. So due to this, what has happened? We are facing certain challenges. कौन सा challenges है? सबसे पहला perpetual poverty, correct? वहां पे perpetual poverty is there, or I would say lack of development, correct? Due to this lack of development and perpetual poverty, it provides fertile grounds for breeding. क्या? Left-wing extremism, correct? There is sense of injustice and alienation. ये सब कुछ problem है, and these problems were highlighted by Bandyopadhyay committee. In 2006. Tribal alienation, unique culture rights वगैरह नहीं था. This was also highlighted by Zaza committee. Zaza committee established की थी for studying the tribal areas. ये सब कुछ उसने बोला है. You can substantiate with this. Getting the point? In this context, we have to take various multi-layered measures. This is what the UPSC is saying. Multi-layered measures, right? So when you are writing about multi-layered measures, try to tell that since the left-wing extremism or the problem of Naxalism is multi-dimensional, the solution should be multi-layered, right? क्यों मल्टी लेयर्ड? बिकॉज प्रॉब्लम ही मल्टी लेयर्ड है ना. प्रॉब्लम मल्टी लेयर्ड कैसा है? बेसिकली ट्राइबल राइट्स नहीं है, इनजस्टिस है, डिस्क्रिमिनेशन है, डेवलपमेंट नहीं है, इनजस्टिस है, एजुकेशन नहीं, हेल्थ नहीं. बंदोपाध्याय कमेटी भी वही बोल रहा है. ट्राइबल, इफ यू वांट टू अंडरस्टैंड स्टिल मेनी कॉजेस इन डेवलपमेंटल एंड इकोनॉमिक, अगर आप देखोगे सर्टेन लॉज, द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल एंड द लीगल फ्रेमवर्क, इफ यू ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड हियर, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल एंड लीगल फ्रेमवर्क. For example, fifth schedule, which emphasizes on tribal autonomous council (TSC), उसका establishment. उसके बाद the provisions mentioned under the article 244(1) of the constitution. उसके बाद if you consider forest right act 2006, उसके बाद if you consider पंचायत extension to schedule act 1996, ये सारे provisions जो भी है they are very noble, but implementation is very poor. So जो rights है that are be not implemented. उसके बाद, so if the problem is multidimensional, your solution should be multidimensional because there should be better governance. Governance deficit should not be there. There should be focus upon the development, right? There should be focus upon, along with development, there should be focus upon, I would say, skill development and employment generation. Also, that does not mean we should tolerate basically the violence. For violence and etc., effective policing measures is necessary. That is security based measures. Correct? मतलब ये मल्टी लेयर्ड है ना. यहाँ पे क्या किया आपने? गवर्नेंस. लेट मी ट्राई टू. फॉर एग्जांपल, डेवलपमेंट में इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेवलपमेंट करना है हमें, राइट? उसके बाद स्कूल्स डेवलप करने, हॉस्पिटल्स डेवलप करने, राइट? So infrastructure development के लिए road connectivity scheme is there. Road connectivity scheme, road connectivity scheme, special infrastructure scheme, special infrastructure scheme. Skill development के लिए आपके पास क्या है? रोशनी, रोशनी scheme in left wing extremist areas. उसके बाद प्रधानमंत्री कौशल विकास योजना, राइट? गवर्नेंस के लिए आपके पास इफेक्टिव इंप्लीमेंटेशन ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल प्रोविजंस की बात कर सकते हैं आप, right? Pro people, adhering to the letter and spirit the laws. Getting the point? मतलब डेवलपमेंट भी करोगे आप, गवर्नेंस भी बढ़ाओगे, कनेक्टिविटी भी बढ़ाओगे, प्रो पीपल इंप्लीमेंटेशन भी करोगे, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन लीगल प्रोविजंस भी इंप्लीमेंट करोगे. उसके बाद पुलिस एंड सिक्योरिटी मेजर्स में यू हैव सर्टेन पुलिस फोर्सेस लाइक कोबरा फोर्सेस, स्पेशलाइज्ड फोर्सेस, कोबरा या ब्लैक पैंथर, ब्लैक पैंथर, ऑपरेशन ग्रीन हंट, क्या सीआरपीएफ का ही कोबरा यूनिट रहता है. ग्रीन हंट, ऑपरेशन ग्रीन हंट एक्सेट्रा. यस, सो ऑन द लाइंस ऑफ द तेलंगाना एक्सेट्रा, ब्लैक पैंथर, आप लोग ऑपरेशन ग्रे हाउंड्स. सो यहां पे क्या है? इफेक्टिव पुलिसिंग, सिक्योरिटी फोर्सेस, स्पेशली बाय द पैरामिलिट्री फोर्सेस, स्पेशलाइज्ड फोर्सेस which are going to stop the insurgency. But along with this, matlab there should be no tolerance for the violence in the country of Gandhi, but along with that basically development bhi karna hai aapko. And that is why Manmohan Singh said that in 2006 that ki Naxalism is the greatest challenges to internal security. वहां पे lack of development, governance नहीं है, इसीलिए elections are not held. And that is why incumbent Prime Minister Modi ji said ballot and not the bullet is the solution for this Naxalism. For that, इसका मतलब क्या है? इलेक्शंस कंडक्ट करना है, रोड्स बनाने, गवर्नेंस करना है, वाटर पाइपलाइन चाहिए, एजुकेशन चाहिए, मतलब मल्टीपल लेयर्स चाहिए. दिस इज व्हाट, that is why government brought a comprehensive strategy to curb all this thing called as samadhan. That is smart policing, aggressive strategy. Then aggressive strategy, you can write this: smart leadership, aggressive strategy, motivation and training, actionable intelligence, dashboard based KPI indicators, harnessing technology. Then A matlab action plan for each theater, and N means no to finance. We need to stop the finance. मतलब if you are choking down the funds, ये अब नोटबंदी करने के बाद automatically Naxalism came down, right? So this Samadhan strategy is a comprehensive strategy which tells that how everything needs to be done. So basically, since the problem is multidimensional, the solution should be multi-layered. And here you definitely mention about the Zaza committee and Bandyopadhyay committee, where they emphasized to stop the land alienation. They emphasized to stop the land alienation. They emphasized also to control money lending, etc. Is it clear? Tribal rights ensure करना है हमें, right? Stop land alienation, restoration of the alienated land. ये सब कुछ करोगे तब जाके ये नक्सलिज्म होगा, right? Getting the point? So these are all. This is the ये आपका नक्सलिज्म का क्वेश्चन, right? Definition, show the area, tell the कहाँ पे गए? Causes, the challenges. Due to this, the challenges are facing like this, and ये solution, right? So this is how you could have scored around, I would say, 65% in this internal security and environment. I hope that you got certain meaningful inputs. The most important outcome or most important thing that you can take away from this classes is that real time में answer कैसा लिखना है in limited time. How to address the core demand of the question, that is what I told. How to introduce, whether by data or statistics, etc. For example, data से याद आया, in the last point here, what you can mention is that due to these measures, as per the recent Ministry of Home Affairs report, yeah, so the number of districts have reduced, if I am not wrong, from 108 to 90. उसके बाद number of violence incidents have reduced, and basically the number of the surrenders, the number of the people who have surrendered have also increased. So this is the positive development which shows that basically Naxalism and the various multifaceted measures taken by the government are yielding the results. Getting the point? So how to address the key demand, I hope that you understood. How to write the body part. This year the paper was very easy. In the upcoming times, in the next year, again, if you try to understand, each year the themes are repeating. Just say, for example, I will tell you a few things that will help you. If you consider internal security, let me take you internal security only. There are generally 4 questions. Each year there are 3 to 4 questions. Environment का 3 रहता है, internal security का 4 रहता है, disaster management का 1 or 2 रहता है. This is the broader framework. 9 questions का. इंटरनल सिक्योरिटी में 4 क्वेश्चन जो रहते हैं, इसमें से एक क्वेश्चन जनरली कम्स फ्रॉम फर्स्ट टॉपिक, दैट इज क्या है वो फर्स्ट टॉपिक? लिंकेजेस बिटवीन डेवलपमेंट एंड स्प्रेड ऑफ एक्सट्रीमिज्म. दिस एक्सट्रीमिज्म का फॉर्म्स आर फ्यू. फॉर फर्स्ट फॉर्म इंसर्जेंसी, सेकंड नक्सलिज्म, थर्ड जम्मू कश्मीर मिलिटेंसी, और फोर्थ बेसिकली आई वुड से रेडिकलाइजेशन एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा. ये 4 में से एक क्वेश्चन पक्का आएगा ईच ईयर. मतलब if this year there is Naxalism, next year it will be insurgency. ऐसा मतलब alternate years. Next, 1 question on cyber security each year. If you just see, this is what is the trend saying. 1 question generally on border management, compulsory. This year they asked us about the coastal borders, maritime borders, right? मतलब these are the 3 themes which are going to repeat directly or indirectly same. 1 question may be out of the box, but this time there was no question out of the box, right? Organized crime ka tha, right? So if you are having complete understanding of the syllabus, if you have read each and every word, if you have certain notes, diagrams, data, statistics, committees, etc., you make precise notes, you repeat and revise it for multiple times, and yes, you write previous year questions. Definitely you will be able to address all the questions. Same goes for ecology. Is it clear? I hope that this discussion of internal security and environment was meaningful and it could help you, right? So this ये जो है आपका synopsis etc. and the question paper etc. would be shared to you. इसमें सब बाकी का भी validation you will be finding. चलो, anyways, this would be shared with you. Is it clear? चलो, thank you guys.